Okay. All right. So I'm going to be presenting Ivonne Gonzalez. She's the General Director of the International Center of Foreign Languages and Cultures at Universidad de La Sabana in Colombia, the founder and president of TESOL Colombia. She's also created the online networking platform for English teachers, TESOL Latam, which supports teachers' collaboration through the Latin American region. With more than 20 years of experience in ELT, she has developed educational projects in the use of virtual reality in English language teaching, teacher training, CLIL collaboration, the use of EdTech, innovation, and transformation in education. Her main interests are innovation, EdTech, international collaboration, and materials creation. Ivonne is passionate about education, new trends in education, and the use of ed technology. So thank you, Ivonne, for honoring us with your presence today. The stage is all yours.
Yes, I'm muted. Okay, thank you so much, Lorena. First, I would love to thank you and all your team and Storyscapes team for this invitation. I'm honored to be part of this webinar today, and I hope all the insights and all the things that I have to share with you will be useful and you will find it valuable. And Sylvia, I have to thank you too, because I don't know why, but we are so connected. I mean, your presentation will be so connected with mine, so that will be great because it will be a smooth transition from yours to mine, because you have dinosaurs, I will also have dinosaurs. You were talking about micro-learning, I will have it. So there are some topics that you talked about that you will find in my presentation, so that's great. So thank you so much. So before I start, let me tell you that my presentation will be divided into two parts. So in the first one, we are going to go through history. We are going to kind of make a summary of the history of education in the last 3-4 centuries, and then the last 6 years. What changed happened in the last 6 years if you compare them to the last centuries. And then we are going to do something to make you reflect on your ELT practices, your syllabus, your programs. And finally, I will share with you 2 examples of how we are integrating innovation and EdTech in our English program at La Sabana. So as you have read in the program, my presentation's name is Innovation in Education, a Trend, an Option, or a Must. Let's start. So when you think about innovation and the trend in innovation in education, you have to go back to the 17th, 18th, 19th century. So when you go back in time, you can see that they took hundreds and hundreds of years to really incorporate big changes in education. So by the 18th century, education was just for the privileged ones, only men. It was focused on reading, writing, religion. When you go to the 19th century, there was this boom of universities and college buildings, especially in the US. In the 19th century, it was really active, building new colleges. And the huge change that they incorporated in the educational system was accepting women. Hundreds of years just to innovate in education, accepting women. Then you go to the 20th century, and at the end of the 19th century, in the United States, they created these historically Black colleges and universities. So what was the big revolution in education? Accepting Black people in education. So hundreds of years for all the classrooms to look the same. You can see the pictures. All these years to just think about how to incorporate women and accept women in education, and then Black people, African Americans, and that was all of it. And in the 20th century, the last part of the century, it was giving education to everyone, going at scale. So you started seeing a lot of undergrads and postgrads programs, and some business coming into it. I mean, how to train people to be the managers of the companies of that time. So, but finally, we have the late years. So in the first 21st century, so what we find is that we have edtech companies working on how to introduce technology in education. So we finally started to see some real changes, some real innovation in education. So look at the differences in the classrooms. You can tell from the pictures. So we started to talk about cloud-based technology, extended reality, augmented reality, virtual reality, science, that was a STEM. Then we included the A in the STEM, so the STEAM, so that's arts, and mobile gadgets to deliver education. So it was a tech that was like the focus of that year. 2019, extended reality, lots of augmented reality, virtual reality, artificial intelligence. Now, finally, we see that the teacher changed the role from teaching to really be mentors, guiding students, guiding the learning processes. Hybrid learning gained relevance, and self-directed learning and autonomy, personalized learning, gamification, that is a good thing, and collaboration. Then the 2020s came. And what happened? Remember that awful time, pandemic. Everybody had to go home, and we teachers had to find a way to connect to our students through screens. So remote education was the focus of that year. So digital libraries really exploded, and this concept of social emotional learning gained relevance. So let's go to the last 3 years. Again, look at the classrooms. Finally, they really changed. Look at the arrangements of them. So collaborative spaces, different spaces to introduce creativity, different types of approach to the classes. So 2021 was the year of flexibility. Lots of learning platforms, social learning, micro learning. So Sylvia, I have to talk about micro learning too. So going from the macro, the big lessons, to really specific topics to include in our planning and in the class activities. And we saw that a lot of YouTubers, YouTube teachers really came to the world, and it was fascinating. So some students started to change you in the classrooms for people in YouTube, telling them and giving them explanations and teaching them the things that they wanted to learn. And experiential learning gained relevance. Why? If you have someone teaching something in YouTube, and if you can go into the platform to get the content, what is the classroom for? The classroom is not for giving just input and telling students content. It is to learn by doing, experiencing things. Let's go to 22nd. Social emotional health. That was last year. Imagine how many kids and teenagers and even adults were and are experiencing a lot of emotional health issues. Well-being is really a thing now. It is an issue, and we have to incorporate things in our programs to help students feel better and have a nice environment where they can enhance their activities and their experiences and feel well. So learning environments was like the focus last year. A lot of applied learning, bite-sized learning, again, micro education, micro learning, digital citizenship, because without technology, there's nothing to do. You as teachers and as students have to get really acquainted with digital strategies and digital tools to be able to deliver classes in the 21st century. Soft skills, they are very important, and the metaverse came to our lives. I know that it sounds kind of weird right now. It is kind of scary, you know, but you don't know much about it all at the same time. But metaverse came and it will stay and it will grow, believe me. So now we are in the 2023. So what is the focus now? New actors in education, because these credentials, micro-learning, lifelong learning, blockchain, digital badges and credentials, they came to our lives. And we see a lot of platforms and a lot of companies working in tech, delivering courses, and they are not educational institutions. So we have new actors in our environment. In education, there is a lot of people getting in. So lifelong learning, learning spaces, and big data for predictive analytics is something you have to focus on. So after this short review, let's go to see how things really changed and how they affect our work as teachers and our ELT programs in our universities and schools. So just go back again to the pictures I showed you just really fast to see how things changed. Centuries looking the same thing, all the classrooms. I mean, you can take a picture from the 17th, 18th, 19th century, they all look the same. Finally, 21st century brings something different. So we go from the physical space to the digital reality, the digital space. That's why we see now VR, AR, and metaverse, as you can see in the pictures. After having this review of the history, a short history of education, let's reflect on something. Is innovation in education an option? Really? Is it an option? Let's see. Let's do an exercise. I want you to think and reflect about how your programs are, what you do in classes, what you plan, your syllabus, etc. So I have this checklist. I am going to read each one of the items in that checklist, and please make a check or write down which ones from that list do you really apply and have in your programs, in your syllabus, in your planning, in your classes. Let's see. Virtual reality, extended reality, augmented reality, artificial intelligence, anything that deals with that. Micro-learning or nano-learning, hybrid environments, gamification, digital citizenship, soft skills training, metaverse, lifelong learning, learning spaces, learning experience, learning environments, blockchain. I mean, do you have digital badges? Do you have credentials? Do you have different paths for each student, learning paths? Chat GPT, that's a new one. EdTech in general, EdTech, education technology, mental health, big data, social emotional learning, personalized learning, self-directed learning. I mean, do you have something that has to do with autonomy in your programs? Subscription-based model for learning. Okay, let's take a look at the list and reflect on how many of them you really have included in your syllabus, planners, activities, etc. So, if you don't have at least, I mean, a minimum of 5 checks in that list, how does your English program look like? So think about it, at least 5 checks. So 5 checks to be the Flintstones car or to be this beautiful Formula One speedy car that really attracts students and goes fast with the pace of innovation in education. Just reflect, which one of those is your program? Which one does it look like? Okay, so going back to innovation in education. So remember the questions. Is this a trend? Yes, you see that there is a trend that there are changes in education and it continues to evolve. Before, it was very slow how it evolved, but now it goes really fast. Then the question was, is it an option? And I guess no, it is not an option. If you want to stay in the Flintstones era, it is not an option. It is a must. Innovation in education is a must. So let's see again. So if it is a must, what do we have to do? So first, you have to check the gaps between teaching strategies and learning needs. Think about your students.
Hi, Ivonne. Sorry, it looks like you got disconnected for a second because we cannot see your presentation.
What
And,
about now? Is it okay now?
We can hear you, but we cannot see your presentation.
Okay. Oh, what happened? That's weird. Let me see. I am going to share again. Oops.
Yes, please. But it
Let's
was just
see.
for like 30 seconds, I guess.
Okay,
Maybe less than
something
30 seconds.
happened. Okay, sorry. Let me go back. Oh, I don't know. Probably it was the internet. Let me check what happened.
Yeah,
Let me
probably
go
so.
back. I am so sorry, but you know, that's technology. It happens.
Yes.
I mean, that's life.
It's
Let's see. Is it okay now?
yes, we can see now.
Did you see the previous slide, or was this the last slide that you could see?
The previous one was the one that we saw before.
The previous one. Okay, so let me go back just one slide. Let's see. Now it doesn't move. Oops, let me see. I went to the dinosaurs one before it should have happened. Let me see. Is this the last one that you saw?
Yes, that one.
Okay, good. Okay, let's roll it again. Okay, I was telling you that innovation in education is a must. It is not an option. Yes, it is a trend and it will continue being a trend, but be ready to change. If you are not changing, if you're not doing something now, start doing it. Why? Because you have to really aim at addressing students' needs, make changes in the delivery of your classes and approach the way you approach your students. And you really have to innovate on these new modes of getting the attraction and engagement from students. So analyze the type of technology that you can adapt to your program, because the context that you are working on is very important. And with that in mind, start making changes. Because if you don't make changes, remember what happened to the dinosaurs. Yes, they went extinct. Yes, it was Mother Nature. At least this time, it is not Mother Nature, it is our choice. But if you don't do something now, it will happen the same to you. So don't let that happen to you and don't get extinct. Your ELT programs or you as teachers don't get extinct. Okay, now let's go to a couple of examples that I want to share with you. At Unisabana, Universidad La Sabana, taking into account what I just talked about, we have two things that we implemented. Virtual reality was the first one. It was like 5 or 6 years ago that we started with virtual reality. And with a clear approach, I will go into it in just a few seconds. And the second example that I want to share with you is flipped learning. How we implement flipped learning to address, remember the checklist? To address some things from that checklist. So let's go to it. Let's go to virtual reality first. So for virtual reality, we have more or less 2,600, 2,500 students working with virtual reality every semester, practicing English. But what we have done is using more than 670 learning modules in different knowledge fields. We have included a clear approach. So we have modules for mathematics learning or practice, physics, medicine, biology, etc. And as the modules are in English, what we do is that we work with the professors of the different faculties of the university. They choose the modules that connect to their subjects, and they bring their students to do that virtual reality practice for that content in our VR lounge, our VR room. So that teacher from that faculty, from engineering, medicine, psychology, whatever, they go and practice with VR and they focus on content. But as everything is in English, we focus in my department in language. So it is the combination between language and content, and that is a clear approach. So we do that for all the students of the university. So we have groups of students coming with their teachers for controlled activities, and we also open time and schedule for students coming independently to practice on any topic they want, any module they want for a period of time. So they have free practice, independent work, or they have groups with their teachers. So we have a lot of content for STEM, of course, and for language, we have a nice speaking practice through VR. It is great. It is so fascinating and engaging because students go to the VR module, they get into another world, they choose which one, what type of practice they want to do, and they become an avatar. They choose the topic. For example, going to an airport, going to a restaurant, whatever. They get into the world through the headsets and they become an avatar, and other avatars come to them and start talking to them, and they have to respond. They have to give the answer. So there is an interaction between the avatars, and that is the speaking practice that they do. It is so fun, it is engaging, and it really helps improving in English. Okay, so what we have seen the last 5 or 6 years we have been working with this technology is that it really helps in the English program. Why? Because students are really engaged. It is gaming. It is bringing things from the gaming world to the educational world. They really have fun. They enjoy the activities. Actually, it is the only activity where we have to tell students to go. It's like, stop working and go. Leave the classroom, go away. It is the only one. For the other activities, you have to kind of pray for them to get engaged. In this one, they really get engaged and they don't want to stop working. And that is so great. So you make learning fun through these type of activities, and you help students develop new skills. Why? Because they need to be digital experts. You cannot think about going to the metaverse if you have not tried virtual reality first. So this is like the first step before going to the metaverse. So it's kind of a must to develop those skills in the students. Okay, this is how the platform looks like. There is a platform where you can control what type of activities they are going to do, what modules, what types of exercises, etc. And the students or the teacher choose that and they do the practice. I'm going to share a 1-minute video just for you to see how it works, how a class like that looks like, and what students say about it. I'm sorry, it is in Spanish. We didn't translate it, but I guess it has some subs.
Bueno, la actividad me pareció súper enriquecedora, primero porque tiene muy buenos contenidos acerca de mi carrera y los temas que estamos viendo.
Cell body to view its organelles.
También me parece súper buena, muchas veces uno está muy enfocado a aprenderse las partes en el libro o incluso en el anfiteatro y tener como esta posibilidad de verlas como en 3D, como algo más aproximado a lo real, me parece muy bueno.
Okay, so let's go back to our checklist. Let's see from that checklist that I showed before, what strategies aimed at what of the topics included in that list. Of course, the first ones, I mean, VR, extended reality, micro and nano learning, we focus on one specific activity and one specific content in each module of the VR activities. It is gamification, 100%. Digital citizenship, yes, it develops digital skills in our students. Metaverse, it is not metaverse, but it is a previous step to be able to go to the metaverse. Learning spaces, yes, we have a VR lounge, we have a different learning experience and a different learning environment. EdTech, of course, this is technology. Technology for education. Personalized learning, yes, sure. Students can come, choose what they want to study and when they want to study and how much time they want to dedicate to that activity. And is it self-directed learning? Yes, it develops autonomy because they can choose when, where, how, what. Okay, good. So let's go to the second example, flipped learning. For the second example, what we have done in our English program is to take the concepts of flipped learning. I mean, when you make things different in a way that you take from the classrooms the content, the input and the explanations, and you bring to the classroom the activities, the production with the language. I mean, it is backwards. Usually in a normal program, you go to a classroom, you have a teacher, the teacher gives the input, gives the explanations, and then the students go home and they do homework, they produce with the language using what they have learned in class. Flipped learning is the opposite. So, but how have we implemented flipped learning? So we created something that we named CPS. It was like a fancy name just to really get the attraction from students, to get their attention. CPS is class preparation session. It is an activity that we do, I mean, they have to do before class to be ready to go to class and put into practice the content that they saw independently. And we call that the ticket in. I'm going to show you how it looks like, but this is just to introduce the topic. So what they do before class becomes an activity, a homework that they do, and that is the ticket to get into the classroom and really be able to participate in the activities in the classroom. So what do we have in that class preparation session? We have video tutorials, we have content, we have all the input and the explanations, and then they have to do some exercises. They have self-evaluation, they have self-access materials, so it is kind of a personalization of the work they do, and they learn something and practice something and bring physically something to their classroom to have the classroom as really meaningful class time and a real experience, an enriching experience. So why do I focus on personalization in all this process? Because you know that not all the students have the same pace, the same learning pace. One of the things that you will find most frustrating from students is having to show their classmates how difficult it is for them to learn something. When you have that in class, it is clear how many times someone had to repeat an exercise to be able to complete it, or how much time do they have to take to learn something. But when you go and flip that, and they are at home doing that, nobody knows if it took you 2 hours or 2 minutes, 30 times or 2 trials to be able to accomplish that activity. That means that when they go to class, everybody is the same. It is at the same level, everybody looks the same, everybody looks like being at the same pace. And that personalization of education is so important to avoid frustration and all the things that you know that your students are struggling with. Okay, let's see how we do this. This is how our platform looks like. When you go to your English class, your level of language, you will see that it is divided into modules week by week, so you exactly know what week you're working on, what activities you have to do, because you click on each one of them depending on the date, on the week you're studying, and you will have your CPS resources, and you will find all the class activities, your independent study, and the CPS, the class preparation session. So they are at home, wherever they want to be, anytime they want to do it. So they have the input, they have activities, they have videos, and they prepare what they need to know before they go to class. So this is how it looks like. They have instructions, they have what is the learning objective, what is the activity they have to do, what evaluation they have to take, and everybody is working at their own time, their own space, their own pace. So finally, they do an activity, they have all the input, they have the content, and they have to produce something with it. I mean, there's an activity, there's an exercise, there's something they have to write, something they have to record, etc. And that becomes like the evidence of work, evidence of learning, and that becomes the ticket into the classroom. That is the ticket in I mentioned before. And when they go to the classroom, they have relevant activities they produce with the language. They are the ones talking, they are the ones doing, not the teacher. Because when you go to class, you cannot be like a mommy. I mean, the teacher talking and you just sitting there doing nothing. No, this is the opposite. The students are the ones who have to be active doing things. And at the end of the class, they have like a ticket out. I mean, they have something they worked on that they can show, that they can prove they were able to use language for something real. And that is the ticket out. So again, how it looks like. Let's see. The checklist. Before, I mean, let me skip the checklist. I will go to it in a second because I want to show you the examples. So this is how it looks like when they click on the CPS. So they have a get ready instruction. They know what is the objective, what they are going to learn, why they are going to do that, and then the list of things that they have to do. In this case, they have to watch a video. It is about how to write your CV. They have all input, they have the video. Then after the video, they have to complete an exercise. They have to reflect on some grammar things. And then they have this. This is like the evidence of learning. They have to produce something with it. This is like preparing all the information from you to include in your CV. And that is the ticket in to get to the classroom. So when they go to the classroom, they have a relevant practice. So they start working on their CV. They learned before how to do it, what information they needed, so they come to class and they start working with it. They apply the content they learned previously. So the teacher here guides the activity, doesn't talk all the time and doesn't explain all the activity because, I mean, all that content because they have seen that in the video. So as you can see in class, students are the ones working and producing. The teacher is a mentor, is a guide, is not the one talking and explaining. So let me go back to the checklist because I want you to see how the checklist works in this flipped learning strategy. And remember, if you don't check at least 5 things, you're in trouble. Let's see. So, micro and nano learning, yes, because you focus on specific topics. You go to small things, they practice small things, and then they go to the macro learning. Hybrid, yes, because you have in-class time, you have independent work outside class. Digital citizenship, yes, we use platforms, we use videos, we use technology. Soft skills, of course, you work a lot on soft skills to be able to do these types of activities. Learning experience, it is a different learning experience, and the classroom really becomes relevant. A learning environment, yes, we use different learning environments. I mean, they can work in the park, at home, at a library, whatever they want. The classrooms is not the only learning environment they will be working on. Big data, yes, we collect a lot of data from the platform to check who is taking more time doing what, who fails 3 times before getting really ready to be able to answer the questionnaire, etc. From that data, we create and we design personalized pathways of learning for each one of the students. Personalized learning, I explained that, and self-directed learning, yes, this is autonomy development. They work on their time, they work independently, they know what to do, how to do it, they learn how to do that. Okay, so after giving the examples and showing you virtual reality and flipped learning, the way we do it, we can go to 3 like takeaways for you, like 3 reflections or conclusions. First, innovation in education is a must, and ELT, English, is not the exception. If you think that you can continue teaching the same way you have been teaching English for years, forget it. You will die. I mean, you will become a dinosaur and you will be extinct very soon. So start making changes and including technology and including innovation in delivery, planning, the syllabus, EdTech tools, etc. Second, analyze your context, your real possibilities, and your priorities. And in this context, of course, you have to think about how much money you have to buy tools, or what you can implement, what you cannot implement. So depending on the context and all the possibilities that you have in your institutions and as teachers, you can decide on what to do. And third, number 3 is choose the trend or the trends in education you want to focus on. It is very difficult to keep pace and to keep track on everything that is going on because there are many things going on right now. So choose 1 or 2 or 3. I mean, all the ones that you can and want to focus on, but choose something and decide why and reflect why you want to implement that, when and how. And this why is so important. It's like the first reflection you have to do. It is not implementing something just for the heck of it. It is not just because it is fancy. It is, I mean, it is now, this is the new style of doing things now. Think about why. What is the objective you want to aim at? What is the impact you are going to have in your students and your program and the learning objective of that student if you implement that? This why reflection is so important. So think about there's an ocean of possibilities out there. Choose the one or the ones you want to work on, reflect on why and how it is going to impact the learning and the students in general. And how to do it, of course, then you have to make a plan and start working on that plan. And I mean, keep to it, keep trying, because it takes time, it takes efforts, and make changes is not that easy. And that's all that I wanted to share with you. I hope it was useful, it was valuable, and I expect to have a lot of questions from you.
Thank you so much, Ivonne, for sharing your expertise with us. I think we learned a lot about virtual reality and the flipped classroom, but I don't know, I saw Pilar turn on her camera. Do you want to ask a question, Pilar?
Oh, yes. Oh, I have two questions. So it was like, I came up like that. Sorry. Thank you very much for your presentation. It was a lot of information. Thank you. And I have two questions. The first, they're about the flipped classroom, because it's more related to what I do. I don't see myself doing the other things, okay?
Yeah.
I've never been interested, you know, I'm interested in other things. But the flipped learning, I have a question. Is it connected in any way to the four-string theory by Paul Nation? Or just happen to be like looking like the four-string theory?
Okay, let me tell you how the process is, and then you can answer yourself. Look at this. What we do is we take
sorry. No. What you do is very similar to what I do.
Yes, no, yes, but let me explain the process, because I am sure you are working exactly the same. We take the syllabus and we decide what content, what parts of that syllabus can be flipped. I mean, should be out of the class. So we take all the content and all the explanations that you can do it by yourself. We take that, but we first have that exercise. Take the syllabus, all the activities, all the content that is in it. We choose, okay, this, and that should be flipped. That is step one. Second is, okay, how do we flip that? What type of activities and what type of input should we give students for them to be able to do that independently? And then we decide, okay, video tutorials, or no, that is reading, or no, let's have the podcast. I mean, you decide depending on the content, how you're going to deliver it to really be successful at reaching the student.
Okay.
And then with the activity or the mode of delivery of that content, we design activities connected to it. For example, if it is a video, what activity should a student do after that? If it is a podcast, will it be a questionnaire? Will it be that they will record their voices to explain? I mean, you decide what activities.
Exactly.
And then you have to think about, okay, there must be something they have to do after the activity that becomes like an evidence of learning. So what is the final product connected to it that will be actually your ticket in to get into the classroom? I mean, this ticket in concept, it is nothing else than finding a way to making them work to be ready to go to class, because if they don't do this previously, when they go to the classroom, they will be lost.
Exactly. Right.
So this ticket in is just the excuse to be ready to show you that to show the teacher that you're ready. So that's how we connect everything. And of course, the most important thing when you do this flipped learning is that the planning for that class day, for the classroom, is connected to the previous steps that I talked about. Because if there is no connection, and
What's
if
the
you
point?
go to class and you do another thing,
Exactly.
never ever in life they will ever do that flip again. They won't do that activities previous to class, because they will say, what do I do this? If I go to class and I do another activity and I will focus on another content. So everything must be connected.
Okay. From what you explain, I mean, it makes total sense to me. But I suggest you, I mean, with all due respect and from
Yes,
my
of course.
humble opinion,
Yes.
check the concept of the four-string theory by Paul Nation, because there is a concept of timing in the four-string theory that I have seen it works, that I have shown some students and they say, oh, that's why I never learned this, because this part is missing.
Yes.
And I think it's something that would enhance, you know, the power of the flipping classroom that you are making. I think the four-string theory is quite easy to implement. It's nothing too big, but it's so obvious, so natural, and it's practical, and everything is already free. I'm gonna give you the name of the professor.
Yeah,
His name
let me
is
tell you
Paul.
the things that we have taken from
And
that.
then, okay, wait.
We have checklists from students. They do self-evaluation, and they have a checklist like, have I spent the enough amount of time to complete?
Exactly.
Have I read? Yes, we have that. How we do it is we have checklists and we have self-evaluations, and we also have peer evaluation. When they have to do like writings, they have peer evaluations too, and they have rubrics. Yes.
It is called and then I have another. That's my first question. The second question is, how do you create, or what is it that you call a pathway of learning?
Okay.
How do you define that?
How do we do that?
Yeah.
Again,
please.
everything is a process. So you have to continuously keep track on students and diagnose all the weaknesses points they have. So when you keep track on students, do you take the data from the independent work they have done? You find that in the platform. You collect information from teachers from the classroom, because it is evident when they have some weakness, the teacher can tell you. And I mean, from all the sources that you can get information from students and their performance, you have like the list of things they have to work on.
Okay.
Taking that into account, what you do is, like, you have the list of things that student have to work on, and you design a personalized learning path for that student, telling them, okay, this is a weakness. For example, past tense. I mean, you're still making many mistakes using past tense. Okay, we have to work on that. So you're going to go to this platform or this book or whatever resource you have, and you're going to do these activities, and you're going to read this, and you're going to watch that video, etc. Point by point, you do that. So you give students
that's what you call the pathway. Okay.
Exactly. And it is different for each one.
Exactly. But then eventually this pathway is connected to the syllables.
Of course.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Which I assume is connected to SEFA.
And also, you take the gaps. They have, for example, they are in B1. If they still have gaps from A2 or A1, you include that in the pathway so they get rid of those gaps they have in language. That's what.
So you use the same, so I assume you use one syllabus for the whole process.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Now it's clear.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ivonne, for that very detailed explanation on, implementation, all the different ideas you shared. Also, I think it's made it very clear how the flipped classroom and how the flipped, style works by seeing these examples. and by understanding the nature and how to adapt that to our students and to our classes. So I think it was very, very clear.
Thank you so much.
Yes, and I'm sure we will be, the takeaways that you share with us, the same as the other presenters, will be something that we will be very happy to implement in our classes as we get started for the new school year, and we gotta plan and get ready. So using all these tools, I think is very, very, very good and very nice. So thank you, Ivonne.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. And I will stop the recording.